Christopher Columbus was born in Genoa, Italy in 1451. Genoa, a city with a rich maritime history, was a place where the sea was an integral part of daily life. The city's strategic location on the Ligurian Sea made it a hub for trade and exploration. Genoa was a bustling port city, and Columbus grew up surrounded by the sights and sounds of seafaring life. The constant movement of ships, the clamor of merchants, and the tales of distant lands filled the air, igniting a sense of adventure in young Columbus. His father was a wool weaver, but Columbus was drawn to the sea from a young age. While his father worked diligently at his loom, Columbus would often find himself gazing longingly at the horizon, dreaming of the vast oceans and the mysteries they held. He went to sea as a teenager, and by his early 20s, he was an experienced sailor. His early voyages took him to various ports around the Mediterranean, where he honed his skills and learned the intricacies of maritime life. He sailed the Mediterranean Sea, learning the art of navigation and ship handling. These voyages were not without peril, as the Mediterranean was known for its treacherous waters and unpredictable weather. Yet Columbus thrived in this challenging environment, gaining valuable experience that would serve him well in the future. He also developed a keen interest in cartography, the science of map-making. The ability to create accurate maps was crucial for any navigator, and Columbus dedicated himself to mastering this skill. He spent countless hours studying the works of renowned cartographers and creating his own maps. Columbus was ambitious and dreamed of making a name for himself. He was not content with merely sailing the known seas. He wanted to explore uncharted waters and discover new lands. His ambition was fueled by the stories of legendary explorers and the promise of fame and fortune. He believed that the world was round, and he became convinced that he could find a faster route to the East Indies by sailing west across the Atlantic Ocean. This idea was revolutionary at the time, as most navigators sought to reach the east by sailing around Africa. At the time, this was a radical idea. The prevailing belief among scholars and sailors was that the Earth was flat, and any attempt to sail westward would be doomed to failure. Columbus's theory challenged the conventional wisdom of his era. Most people believed that the Earth was flat and that sailing too far west would lead to falling off the edge of the world. This fear was deeply ingrained in the minds of many, and it made Columbus's proposal seem even more audacious. Columbus was undeterred by these beliefs. He was confident in his calculations and his understanding of geography. His determination to prove his theory was unwavering, and he was willing to face any obstacle to achieve his goal. He was determined to prove that his theory was correct. He spent years studying maps and charts, refining his plans, and gathering as much information as possible. His dedication to his vision was relentless, and he believed that success was within his reach. He spent years studying maps and charts, and he even wrote to several European monarchs seeking funding for his expedition. Columbus knew that he needed the support of a powerful patron to turn his dream into reality. However, his requests were repeatedly denied. The monarchs and their advisors were skeptical of his plans and unwilling to invest in such a risky venture. Columbus faced rejection after rejection, but he refused to give up. No one was willing to risk their money on such a dangerous and uncertain venture. The fear of the unknown and the potential for failure loomed large, making it difficult for Columbus to find the support he needed. Yet, despite these setbacks, Columbus's resolve remained unshaken. He continued to pursue his dream with unwavering determination, believing that one day he would find the backing he needed to embark on his historic journey. Undeterred by the lack of support, Columbus continued to hone his skills as a sailor. Despite facing numerous challenges and setbacks, his determination never wavered. He was driven by a deep-seated passion for the sea and an insatiable curiosity about the world. He participated in several voyages throughout the Mediterranean Sea, gaining valuable experience in navigation, ship handling, and trade. These voyages were not just about sailing, they were about learning the intricacies of maritime life. Columbus learned how to read the stars, understand the winds, and navigate through treacherous waters. These early voyages exposed him to different cultures and expanded his understanding of the world beyond the Italian shores. He interacted with merchants from distant lands, absorbing their knowledge and stories. This exposure to diverse cultures and ideas broadened his horizons and fueled his ambition to explore further. During this period, Portugal emerged as a leading force in maritime exploration. The Portuguese were pioneers in the age of discovery, venturing into unknown territories and mapping new routes. Their advancements in shipbuilding and navigation set the stage for future explorations. Prince Henry the Navigator, a patron of exploration, established a school of navigation in Sagres, Portugal. This institution became a hub for the best minds in navigation, cartography, and astronomy. It was here that many of the techniques and tools that would revolutionize exploration were developed. Columbus spent time in Portugal, studying the latest advancements in navigation and shipbuilding. He immersed himself in the wealth of knowledge available, learning from the best navigators of the time. This period was crucial in shaping his understanding of the world and his approach to exploration. He also heard tales of Portuguese expeditions venturing further south along the coast of Africa, fueling his own desire to explore uncharted waters. These stories of adventure and discovery ignited his imagination and strengthened his resolve to find a new route to the east. Columbus married Filipa Moniz Perestrello, the daughter of a Portuguese nobleman and governor of Porto Santo, an island in the Madeira archipelago. This union was not just a personal milestone, but also a strategic alliance. Through this marriage, Columbus gained access to a network of influential individuals and valuable resources. This marriage provided Columbus with access to valuable maps, charts, and navigational knowledge accumulated by Portuguese explorers. These resources were instrumental in shaping his plans and strategies for future voyages. The detailed maps and charts gave him insights into the known world and the possibilities that lay beyond. It was during this time that Columbus began to solidify his plan to reach the east by sailing west. He meticulously studied the available data, calculated distances, and formulated a plan that he believed would change the course of history. His time in Portugal was a period of intense preparation and learning, setting the foundation for his eventual journey across the Atlantic. After failing to secure funding from the Portuguese crown, Columbus found himself at a crossroads. His dream of finding a new route to the East Indies seemed to be slipping away. The Portuguese, who were already invested in their own explorations around Africa, were not interested in Columbus's westward route. Disheartened but not defeated, Columbus knew he had to find another patron for his ambitious voyage. Determined to see his vision come to life, Columbus turned his attention to Spain. He believed that the Spanish monarchs, with their growing power and influence, might be more receptive to his bold plan. The journey to Spain was long and arduous, but Columbus was driven by a sense of destiny. In the late 15th century, Spain was ruled by King Ferdinand II of Aragon and Queen Isabella I of Castile. These two monarchs had united their kingdoms through marriage, creating a powerful and ambitious nation. They were known for their desire to expand their territories and increase their wealth, making them potential allies for Columbus's venture. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella were not only ambitious but also strategic. They understood the importance of exploration and the potential benefits it could bring to their kingdom. They were eager to find new trade routes and acquire wealth to fund their military campaigns and strengthen their position in Europe. Columbus saw an opportunity to present his proposal to them, hoping to gain their support for his westward voyage. He meticulously prepared his case, gathering maps, charts, and any evidence he could find to support his theory. When the time came, he presented his plan with passion and conviction, kneeling before the monarchs and laying out his vision for a new route to the East Indies. Columbus argued that by sailing west, he could reach the East Indies faster than by traveling the traditional eastern route around Africa. He explained the potential for shorter travel times and the avoidance of the dangerous and lengthy journey around the Cape of Good Hope. His arguments were compelling, and he used a globe to illustrate his points, showing the monarchs the vast possibilities that lay to the west. He promised the Spanish monarchs riches beyond their wildest dreams, gold, spices, and other valuable commodities that would fill their coffers and elevate their status among European powers. Columbus painted a vivid picture of the wealth that awaited them, describing the treasures of the East Indies in great detail and new lands to conquer. He spoke of uncharted territories that could be claimed in the name of Spain, expanding their empire and influence. Columbus's vision was not just about wealth, but also about power and prestige, appealing to the monarch's desire for greatness. He also emphasized the potential for spreading Christianity to new peoples. Columbus knew that the Spanish monarchs were devout Catholics, and he played on their religious zeal by promising to bring the Christian faith to the inhabitants of the new lands. He spoke of converting souls and expanding the reach of the church, adding a spiritual dimension to his proposal. Initially, the Spanish monarchs were hesitant. The idea of a westward voyage was unprecedented and risky. They had their doubts about the feasibility of Columbus's plan and the accuracy of his calculations. The monarchs were cautious, knowing that a failed expedition could be costly and damaging to their reputation. They consulted with their advisors, who were divided on the feasibility of Columbus's plan. Some advisors were skeptical, questioning Columbus's knowledge and the practicality of his route. They pointed out the dangers of the unknown seas and the potential for disaster. Others, however, saw potential in his ambitious vision and believed that the rewards could outweigh the risks. Some dismissed it as the ramblings of a madman, convinced that Columbus was chasing an impossible dream. They argued that the resources required for such an expedition could be better spent elsewhere, on more certain ventures, while others saw potential in his ambitious vision. They believed that Columbus's plan, though risky, could lead to unprecedented discoveries and immense wealth. These advisors urged the monarchs to take a chance on Columbus, seeing him as a visionary who could change the course of history. However, Columbus was a persuasive speaker, and he eventually convinced Queen Isabella to support his expedition. His passion and determination won her over, and she saw the potential for greatness in his plan. With Queen Isabella's backing, Columbus's dream of a westward voyage was set to become a reality, marking the beginning of a new era of exploration and discovery. Section 4. Voyage into the unknown, the first expedition. In 1492, after years of planning and negotiation, Columbus set sail from Palos de la Frontera, Spain, with 3 ships: the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. The ships were small and cramped, and the journey was long and arduous. The crew faced storms, hunger, and disease. They also had to contend with the fear of the unknown as they sailed further and further west into uncharted waters. Despite the challenges, Columbus remained resolute. He was a skilled navigator and a charismatic leader. He kept the crew motivated with promises of riches and glory. He also relied on his faith, believing that God was guiding him on his journey. As weeks turned into months and land still remained elusive, tensions rose among the crew. They questioned Columbus's leadership and threatened to mutiny. However, Columbus remained steadfast in his belief that they would find land. Section 5. Landfall and First Encounters, the Taino people. On October 12, 1492, after more than 2 months at sea, the crew finally sighted land. They had landed on an island in the Bahamas, which Columbus named San Salvador. This marked a pivotal moment in history, as it was the first time that Europeans had set foot in the Americas. Upon landing, Columbus encountered the native inhabitants of the island, the Taino people. The Taino were a peaceful and welcoming people who lived in villages and cultivated crops such as cassava, maize, and tobacco. They were skilled artisans and navigators with a rich culture and spiritual beliefs. Columbus, believing he had reached the East Indies, called the Taino people Indians. He described them in his journals as gentle and generous, but also saw them as potential subjects of the Spanish crown. He claimed the land for Spain and took possession of it in the name of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella.